Good morning, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mamani and I warmly welcome all of you to StudyIQ. I hope you all are doing good this morning. Last night I was reading a book and I came across an example on Benjamin Franklin. I realized how hardworking he was, and I have got a quote for you: energy and persistence conquer all things. And this was something similar to what I learned from that particular page or that example that was given in that book. No doubt, I'm sure that Benjamin Franklin would be a very hard-working person. I'm going to read his autobiography in near future. I have already got that book, but I'm sure we are all inspired by him. This very famous quote as well comes from him: early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. With this, dear friends, we have some important items. The first one, this one is about dangerous spiral, right? Spiral getting viral. It's about this ongoing global trade war. I have got this subline for you guys over here, right? So there will be no winner in the ongoing global trade war. I think a couple of days ago I told you about this thing. And then you have this wave of lynching. Local authorities must show good faith and facilitate policing to deal with mob violence. Very dangerous thing for any society when you have this sort of mob violence. This one is about football. Help yourself with it if you are interested in football, or else it's fine as far as your exam is concerned. Don't worry about it. Then you have this one. It's very important article. It's about education. We must redefine the purpose of school education, something that is very important and necessary for our country. This one is about Kashmir and Jammu dilemma. Here you find in between some important, you can say, timeline, right? What happened actually in early 50s. So we will pay attention to that thing. I have got important points for you guys. We'll analyze this article as well. And then you have this yes, no, and it's complicated. I have got some important points. It's about, should Delhi be given statehood? I asked you this question, isn't it? And now, dear friends, see this pen drive and tablet courses are available. They are designed by the best faculties of our country. To find out more about it, check out StudyIQ.com. If you have any question, any queries, right, feel free to give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. You can also use this chat box that is available on our portal. Now, hopefully today I will bring out a lecture on this test series. Of course, it is going to be in both Hindi and English for you guys. I will explain how our test series helped so many students in UPSC's Prelim 2018, and we'll talk about this series as well. So hopefully today, right, by evening, the video will be out. I will let you know if there is any change, and I will let you know about time as well on my Facebook page and Twitter handle. With this, dear friends, please do share this lecture with other people. Do let me know how many of you have actually shared, because I see many people, right, many students, they do message me if my video is bit late. If PDF is bit late, then I do get many messages, but I hardly do get message saying that, sir, I have shared this file or video with other people, whether I do spread the word around. So do let me know, and don't forget to hit the like button. Now, dear friends, you can see a big ship carrying containers on your screen, isn't it? And you can see many flags as well. Now, it all started, we know that we are talking about this dangerous spiral global trade war that is going on. It all started, the first shot was fired by Mr. Trump, and remember, he started with this steel and aluminium coming into USA. He raised this tariff, and I think yesterday or day before yesterday I explained how this tariffs work, right? How you raise your bar and how you protect your domestic companies and things like that. So it was started by Mr. Trump. It was started by USA. And what we if we look at recent past, you know, this 12th June historic summit that took place between Mr. Trump and Kim. Right before that, there was this G7, global 7 countries. G7 basically are countries that are industrialized countries, right? So there was a meeting, Germany and USA, UK, France and other countries. So during this meeting, right, which took place in Canada, Mr. Trump was, he has used some harsh words against Canada. He has also rejected this rules-based, let me write it down for you, rules-based trading system, right? Rule-based trading system that was proposed by G7 countries. This was rejected by USA. So this indicates that Mr. Trump is not going to relent, right? He is going to hold the same position for near future or for mid-term. Now the thing is, what we find nowadays, it was in news after this G7 or before G7 meeting as well. We saw this, let me write it down here for you. We saw this Xi Jinping and Mr. Trump talking about this tariff war. They threatened each other. You can say USA and China threatened each other of imposing more tariff on items coming from each other's country. So recently, China has said that it is going to slap, or in fact, it has slapped USA with $50 billion. Right? USA has said that it will retaliate and it is going to slap China with the $200 billion worth of imports that is coming from China. European Union is going to slap USA with 3.3 billion. It's not a small amount, isn't it, that we are talking here? 3.3 and 50 billion and 200 billion. And here we are talking about major economies, right? Major economies, you can see European Union, Canada. Last night, this was in news, Turkey and India, in fact, has joined this tariff imposing tit-for-tat battle that is going on. So global trade war is hotting up. As far as India is concerned, India has slapped as high as 50% on the list of 30 goods that are imported from USA. If you see China, if you compare China and if you see China and USA's relationship, bilateral trade relationship, then we find that total Chinese imports into USA last year, that is 2017, were worth around 500 billion. Can you believe this thing? 500 billion. This is a huge amount. And now they are going against each other. This is not going to help the whole world. India and USA, we were talking about, right? We have applied, right? We have said that 50% on 30 goods. Now, this is not going to be a very big amount in billions. It is going to be somewhere around 250 million, which is not that big when you compare and when you see India and USA's bilateral trade. But the thing is that we are talking about, the name here is spiral. And I also use this word viral. This dangerous spiral, this tariff war that is going on, it's just like a snowball rolling down from a mountain, right? It gets bigger and bigger as it comes down. It gets faster as well. Same thing is going on with this tariff war. It started with steel and aluminium, and now you can see that it is spreading just like a virus in global economy. Now, remember we were talking about this thing that global economy is doing well when we were talking about how we can make sure that India can clock this 8% or 7.5% plus GDP. We were talking about this thing. I told you that at present global economy is doing bit well. There was a long recession that was going on after, after 2007-8, this financial crunch. After that we saw a global slowdown, and now things have started picking up. But what we find when things are getting favorable, we find this sort of tariff war going on. Now, India and USA, India has knocked the doors of WTO, World Trade Organization. It has gone against USA for this dairy products and other items that are coming from USA, and USA is not happy about this thing, particularly agriculture, right? USA has always created problems for India. But anyways, in WTO as well, we have clarified, we have said this thing that we don't want to continue this tit for tat thing, that you punch me and then I punch you back. This is not something that India wants to do with USA. It wants to conduct a discussion. It wants to sort out all the problems with the help of dialogue. So this is India and USA's portion. Now let's wait and watch what actually happens between India and USA. But as far as this global stock market is concerned, right, it is getting more and more volatile, because when you find this type of news items, just imagine that you are exporting a particular item to USA. You are based in China and you are exporting something in to USA. Then you find that when you find this sort of news, right, of course the demand of your product will come down. So your production will come down. You have to stop your production, your raw material. You will stop ordering the quantity that you used to order. So this will create a sort of viral in your domestic economy as well. So investors will feel panic, less jobs will be created, you know about this basic thing. So this is going to impact not only global economy but domestic economy of different countries. So what we need to do now, of course, we all know this answer, right? The best thing is that global powers must try their best, that they must come together and they must work it out. Now, of course, we know under Mr. Trump, things are very volatile. He has been very, erratic, unpredictable. But the world together, right? EU, Canada, China, India, together, we can stick together and we can corner USA to stop this sort of things that are anti-globalization. Moving on to another item. This is about wave of lynchings. Now, Monday, what happened last Monday? 2 men in Uttar Pradesh, Hapur districts, that is in the outskirts of New Delhi, they were brutally assaulted, right? They are basically killed by people, by this mob. And there are many, different people are saying different things. Like, say, for example, the son of the person who was brutally assaulted, his son is saying that this thing is outcome of a conspiracy. The local people are saying that there is a sort of cow vigilante angle. These 2 person, right, these 2 person who are killed by this mob, they were associated with cattle trading. Now remember, when this cattle law was brought out by government last year, it was very harsh, right? It was literally, you can say, in favor of cow vigilance, and it was not in favor of people, right, like farmers and people who are associated with cattle trade. Now, this law is, of course, rectified, or you can say updated by the government. It has removed all this negative things that were, like, basically it was that if you purchase a cattle from a cattle, you can say this auction place, right, then you have to make sure that for next 6 months or something, you will not sell it, you will not kill it, and things like that. So it was very harsh, and you cannot give away your cattle for slaughterhouse and things like that. Now, say if you see it in terms of economy, right, what happens when there is a drought, right? A person, a family. Now, in India, I'm sure you know this thing, that nearly 75% of our farmers are small and marginal farmers, right? Marginal and small farmers. Marginal is even smaller than small. So we have 75% plus farmers are small and marginal. Now, if they are having a cattle, just imagine in a drought season, right? What they are going to feed that cattle? They cannot even feed their kids or their family. How they are going to, how they are supposed to feed this cattle that they have? The best thing for them at that point of time is to sell this cattle, right? To get rid of this cattle. And if they get something out of it, if they get like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever, then this much amount of money will make sure that they will survive. If there is any medical emergency or food and other things, they can survive this harsh drought. This is just one example that I'm presenting in front of you. And there are so many articles. You can read. If you Google this thing, you will find so many important points that why it is important for a small farmer or for farmer in our country that he or she should be allowed to sell his or her, this cattle wherever they need. Now, people are against this killing, but you find people are not against wearing leather shoes. They are not against wearing this or having this leather sofas in their house. They are not against this leather chairs that they get in their cars, right? They are not against this fat oil that is used in soaps and other items that people use, right? So it's more about if there are people out there, they are giving this political color to these things. Now, of course, we know that sentiments with cows, with they are associated with people of our country, no doubt. But one more thing that has always raised this question in my mind, and I'm sure many of you will be thinking about this thing, that if we genuinely care about cows in our country, then why do we find them on the street? Why do we find cows dying because of they have to, means they are eating plastics, right? A plastic that is thrown by us. So we have to really think about this sort of things as well. The other thing is the local administration is saying that it was a matter of road rage. So investigation is going on, and only a thorough investigation will tell us whether it was a murder, whether it was a conspiracy, whether it was this cow vigilante people. They are a bit active in northern part of our country. And as far as this mob violence is concerned, right, it is a very sad thing that we find in different parts of our country, different forms of mob violence. The subject or the sentiment could be different. But we do find this mob violence taking place. Like in North India, we have this cow vigilantes. In Assam and Tamil Nadu, we have this child kidnapping. This fear of people or like people coming from outside. They are kidnapping kids. And we recently saw this a lady, right? She just offered. She asked, I think it was she asked for some address, and the kids provided her with address. So just as a gesture, she provided some sweets, and people took it negatively. They thought that she is trying to kidnap those kids, and they started beating her. And later on, we came to know that she was just a tourist. So can you believe this thing? The other thing is we saw this same thing happen with two men in this Assam. So what this sort of things or incidents are indicating, right? And one more thing, social networking sites, they are playing a very negative role in this sort of things. It's getting viral, right? People are spreading false messages without verifying what is right. You can also blame media for not playing active role in countering this sort of fake messages. Now, it also indicates that local administration is not doing what they are, or they are not giving their best. Even today, we find this sort of things going on. You might be surprised to know this thing. I'm not sure if you are aware about this thing, but CCTV cameras in many cities, right, that we find, they are working on charity. Can you believe this thing? Charity given by businessmen. Is used by local MLAs and local officers. Everyone is part of this thing. They gather or they raise funds, and then they plant CCTV cameras, and you find CCTVs and other monitoring thing only in important or busy places. You don't find this thing in other places where you find. So technology is a thing that can sort this thing out. You can have a flying drone all the time, right? 1 or 2 drones that are monitoring cities. If there is any crowd or anything, something unusual happening, then you can place your drone over that place, and then there should be police guys who can respond to this sort of problem. So local administration, but then you have local politics and so many things associated with it. So last thing that I would like to add here is that murder and lynching, these are two different things. Of course, they are associated with taking away someone's life, but murder is done by a sort of group of people or maybe an individual. But here you have mob, right? Civil society taking part in killing someone. And it's just something similar to, if you ask me, I would say it's something similar to a man-eating lion or tiger or leopard, right? When you find a man-eating lion, tiger or leopard in your area, you are worried about it. Something similar happens with this civil society as well. When you see this sort of mob living in a society, it will basically pollute the whole society. And it's not good for democracy at all. It is in fact against democracy. It's against law and order. Now, making children happy, it's about education, this particular article, and very important article as well, no doubt. Now, if you have some important information that you find in your MCQ prelims examination, like 2016, yoga was inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Don't you find this type of questions in your prelims examination? Of course you do. So make sure you keep this information in your mind. If you have to revise, do revise this thing, right? By heart it. Make sure that UNESCO has included, as far as yoga is concerned, it is part of this intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Now, I was going through one article written by Vice President of our country, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, and he basically said that when recently, you know, that he was in Peru. He was there. He went to this part of the world, like South America and Central America. He visited 3 countries, if I'm not wrong. So when he was in Peru, he was quite surprised to see yoga center in Peru. And you know that 175 countries voted for this 21st June that we celebrated yesterday, Yoga Day, International Yoga Day, General Assembly, United Nations General Assembly. 175 countries gave their vote for celebrating or for declaring 21st June as International Yoga Day. It is termed as a gift of India, right? A gift by India, you can say, to the world community. This is not just about 21st June, right? You cannot imagine how many people out there in the world, they are seeing India from altogether a different perspective. And based on this thing, we are also getting this, you know, medical tourism. We were famous for it, but now we are getting this yoga tourism. India is also known as a land of yoga. You see this advertisement in the DD National News, DD News channel. You find this advertisement by government. Of course, it's about a land of yoga, and there are so many foreigners and people from different parts of the world. They do come here to take part or to learn yoga, and when they go back, they do spread this yoga, philosophy of yoga in their local community, which is of course a very good thing. Now, one thing that I would like to add here, and many of you may disagree with me, but this is a fact. Yoga is not associated with any religion at all, right? It's a science. Yoga is for everyone, so it's not about any religion. And what we need nowadays, right? See, I'll tell you one example. You have Navy SEALs. I'm sure you might have heard about Navy SEALs, right? The USA's elite force. They use many breathing technique. They use many yogic postures and many things that are associated with yoga. And let me tell you one thing about Navy SEALs. They will use only those technologies that do work. If there is something that is just good on theory but not on book, they will not use it. There are so many forms of martial arts that they don't use because it is an art. It is good when you are performing and displaying it, but it's not good for hand-to-hand combat. So they use things that are actually delivering result, and yoga and meditation and other things, right? There are different types, but they do use it. This is just one example. The other thing is, nowadays we know that schools are getting more and more competitive. Kids are facing stress, and you know, big bags with full of books, other things. When you come back, you have to do homework, you have to go to tuitions. When you come back, you don't have any time at all for any sort of physical play. What is, I don't know, are we literally, means what, killing childhood by imposing this sort of excessive pressure on our kids? The other thing is, you find parents, they feel very happy when they are sharing digits with each other, that my son or daughter got rank 1st or rank 2 and rank 3, but no one is paying attention to this. Means not that many people are paying attention to this emotional intelligence. Is your child happy about it or not? There are so many different platforms, scientific evidence, TED Talks, and California and other universities, right, MITs and others, they have their YouTube channel, and you will find so many programs on emotional intelligence, about breathing, about mindfulness, about awareness, about yoga, Right, all these things are very important. Now we have realized, rediscovered that these are very important items, because so many people out there, particularly in USA, in New York, say for example, if I'm not wrong, somewhere around 60% of population living in New York, they are consuming pills for sleep. Can you imagine this thing? Right, so this non-communicable diseases are real. In fact, in our country, 60% of deaths are taking place because of non-communicable diseases. So UNESCO has started this program with Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development. They have started this SEL. SEL stands for, let me rub this thing, and social and emotional learning. SEL stands for social and emotional learning. They have started this thing in our country, and I'm sure this is going to spread. Let's hope that this thing spreads like a virus in different schools, so that our kids, they have bright future. They are genuinely learning rather than by hearting things. Now let's quickly go through this story. Let's take it just as a story, right? With the help of this, if you take it this way, then it would be easier for you to remember. It's about Kashmir and this problem that is going on. Recently we saw this divorce between BJP and this PDP. So we have this, if you go through demographic reality, you find that Hindu majority region within a Muslim majority state in a Hindu majority nation. This makes it a bit more complicated. Now, back in 1952-53, there was this agitation going on was carried out by this Jammu Praja Parishad. And since then, we are seeing this problem going on. Right, Jammu and Kashmir, back in 50s, you had Sheikh Abdullah, and at national level, we had Jawaharlal Nehru. And they were cordial with each other. They were good friends as well in their personal life. So they decided to go ahead with this 1952's Delhi Agreement. But then we saw this agitation going on. And earlier on, this JPP agitation was against Abdullah's land reform. But later on, it was changed into this, it metamorphosized into this Ek Vidhan, Ek Nishan, Ek Pradhan. That means one constitution, one flag, and one premier. So it became a bit, aggressive. And then we saw this other right-wing parties taking part, Hindu right-wing parties taking part and providing its support to JPP. Then they had this leader called SP Mukherjee, under whose leadership this right-wing parties were carrying this agitation in Jammu and Kashmir. He was detained and he got heart attack during detention. So this became, emotions were associated and it became a bit out of control. Earlier on, when he was detained, at that point of time, Mr. Nehru was against, he was talking against this JPP and things like that. But when Mukherjee died, he was left with no choice but to give up and become a bit soft. But all these things weakened Abdullah politically, and his relationship with Nehru were also finding so many cracks. Later on, we saw this. Since then, right, these things are going on. Still, we don't know who ordered. Means Abdullah was also jailed, but we don't know who exactly orders. Even today, this thing is a secret. And this ball has been rolling on and on and on. And now we reach here. We know what's going on in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, very quickly, Delhi should be given statehood. Yes or no? Important item here. 69th Amendment of the Constitution created this Legislative Assembly of Delhi back in 1991. At that point of time, the city's population was smaller. At present, it is 2 crore. The other thing is, when it was talked about, this was opposed by B.R. Ambedkar when we are framing our constitution about this statehood for Delhi. But you have these 3 different views, right? One view is that you cannot just, 2 crore people living in a city. You cannot impose this sort of central laws. They have elected a government, so their democratic rights are being violated. This is one view. The other thing is, it's not about ego, it's about embassies and Supreme Court and their lawyers and these judges and different diplomats living in this city, right, national city. You cannot have state government and central government clashing with each other. This is not going to be safe and progressive for a very important capital of our country. It's truly a global city, isn't it? So it's going to be as it is for time being, right? This tug of war will continue. With this, dear friends, these are some important news items that you have. Most of them we have talked about. These three, right? India and Maldives, they are going to hold discussion to sort out these issues. 2+2 dialogue. That means you have foreign minister and defense minister from both the sides, right? Indian and USA's foreign minister and defense minister. So 4 ministers are going to interact. This is what we call 2+2. US ends separation policy. Yesterday we were talking about this kids and their parents, and this has been ended. And that's basically everything. These are your answers. These are your questions, dear friends. And don't forget to check out StudyIQ.com, and do stay connected with me on Facebook, so I will update you about this video that I'm going to bring out for you guys today. Enjoy your day. Make sure you do share it, and you have to let me know. I want to know how many people do genuinely share the things that I'm sharing with you guys. And don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you very much for your support, for your love, for your prayers and well wishes. God bless you all. Enjoy your day. Jai Hind.